Okay, here we go again. I'm Kevin, 42, and my wife is Jessica, 40. We've been married for 15 years, and we have 2 kids, Ryan, 14, and Olivia, 11. But this story isn't just about my wife. It's about my brother, Marcus, 35, and his wife, Jennifer, 34. Marcus is the flashier one, always the center of attention. I'm the accountant. I'm reliable. The problem started after Marcus and Jennifer moved to our town about a year ago. We started doing everything together. Sunday dinners, holidays, joint vacations. Jessica and Marcus, who are both aggressive and charming, started spending a lot of time alone, supposedly planning business ideas. They had this intense, private energy whenever they were together that made my stomach churn. Jessica started having the usual red flags, constant texting, guarding her phone like a treasure, and getting bitchy if I even looked at it. "Don't you have spreadsheets to look at, Kevin?" she'd snap. Naturally, the sex dried up completely. "I'm too exhausted from networking," she'd claim, while Marcus and Jennifer were coincidentally having frequent, loud fights. Jennifer, my brother's wife, always seemed distant and sad, but she and I shared a silent, awkward understanding of the chaos around us.
The sudden event that shattered my denial wasn't my doing. It was Jennifer's. Last Thursday, Jessica and Marcus were supposed to be on a 4-day marketing synergy retreat. Jennifer and I were at my house, awkwardly watching TV. She looked utterly defeated. Jennifer finally broke the silence. "Kevin, I can't do this anymore. I know where they are. They aren't at a retreat." I felt a sudden, sharp jolt of panic. She pulled out her phone and showed me. She had been tracking Marcus using an old app they installed for security. The pin was dropping at a small, expensive rental cabin in upstate New York, a place definitely not known for marketing synergy. "He booked it 2 weeks ago," Jennifer whispered, her voice trembling. I found the confirmation email. I knew Jessica was lying about the dates for her work trip, so I checked the schedules. She looked at me, her eyes full of the same pain I was feeling. "They've been sleeping together for 6 months, Kevin. I'm so sorry." The ground felt like it was shifting. My wife and my brother. It was incestuous, humiliating, and brutally personal. Jessica's complete denial of sex and affection to me was because she was giving it to him. That's when Jennifer proposed the revenge. She said she had been documenting everything and knew how Marcus hid his assets, but she needed to prove the affair wasn't just physical. "We need photographic evidence," she said, her voice turning cold and resolute. "Proof that they are planning a future together, not just a fling." The sudden shift in her tone, from broken wife to co-conspirator, was terrifying and exhilarating. We decided to drive up to that cabin immediately. The drive to upstate New York was the most terrifying 3 hours of my life. Jennifer was silent, gripping the steering wheel, fueled purely by cold rage. We arrived at the remote cabin around 1 a.m. It was dimly lit, and through the large picture window, we saw them. Jessica and Marcus were sitting on the couch, drinking wine, laughing, not talking about business, but holding hands. They looked relaxed, cozy, and utterly betrayed. Jennifer and I didn't knock. We walked right in. I threw the cabin key, which Jennifer had copied from Marcus's jacket, onto the coffee table. "Enjoying the marketing synergy, Jessica? And you, Marcus, how's the job search going?" I felt like I was outside my own body, watching a scene unfold. The sudden event of our appearance made them jump apart like frightened teenagers. Jessica was the first to recover, immediately going on the attack, bitchier than ever. "What the hell is wrong with you two? Are you stalking us? Get out of here!" Marcus, my own brother, just looked shamefaced and pathetic. "Kevin, please, let's talk outside," he mumbled. Jennifer stepped forward, holding up her phone, which had just finished recording the last 5 minutes. "No, we're talking here. We know about the sex and the lies, Marcus. And Jessica, Tell Kevin about the lawyer you've already consulted about taking the house. That shut them both up. Jessica turned on Jennifer. You nosy little psycho. This is none of your business. You were never good enough for Marcus anyway. At least I know how to keep a man interested, which is more than I can say for you, Kevin. She wouldn't stop lying, even when cornered. She tried to claim that I was emotionally abusive and that Marcus was rescuing her. But the sight of their comfortable betrayal fueled a sudden, calculated calm in me. I looked at Jennifer. She nodded. The confrontation wasn't about answers. It was about gathering evidence for the inevitable divorce and our planned revenge. We took the pictures of the key in the cabin, and we walked out, leaving them stunned and screaming at each other.
The long, silent drive back was a blur of emotional devastation. For the first hour, I couldn't speak, completely numb. My wife and my own brother. The humiliation was crushing. I wasn't just grieving my marriage. I was grieving the destruction of my entire family structure. Jennifer finally pulled over at a rest stop. She was crying hysterically. He promised me they were just friends. He said she was helping his career. I feel so stupid. I leaned over and for the first time hugged her. It wasn't romantic. It was two shipwrecks clinging to each other in the storm. The anger at Jessica and Marcus finally eclipsed the initial sadness. I realized that the only path through this wasn't collapse, but calculated revenge. Jessica's bitchy attack in the cabin, calling me a failure and dismissing my existence, had actually clarified my purpose. I wasn't just fighting for my dignity. I was fighting to stop them from walking away with everything we had built. We stop crying now, Jennifer, I finally said, my voice heavy but steady. We know they are planning to leave us and take the assets. We use what we saw tonight. We hit them hard where it hurts. The emotional impact of the betrayal suddenly transformed into cold, focused resolve. Jennifer, the sweet, sad wife, instantly snapped into action. Marcus has a separate investment account he kept secret from me. I have the login, and I know about the apartment in the city they were looking at together. We can prove financial conspiracy. In that moment, sitting in the darkness of the rest stop, the emotional bond between the two betrayed spouses solidified. We had a common enemy, and we had the proof of their grotesque betrayal. Our marriage was dead, but our coordinated vengeance was just beginning. The next day, Jennifer and I didn't go home immediately. We drove to a cheap motel near the city limits. The marriage was definitely over. That was the decision. But the resolution was going to be strategic. We knew Jessica and Marcus would return home thinking they had successfully covered their tracks. We needed time to prepare the battlefield. We spent the entire day gathering evidence. I, the boring accountant, was suddenly invaluable. Jennifer provided the logins to Marcus's hidden brokerage account, and I documented every suspicious transfer between him and Jessica, using company funds for their business trips. We formalized our alliance, establishing 3 ironclad rules. No emotional engagement. This is strictly business and retribution. Focus on assets. The goal is maximum financial and professional damage to them and maximum protection for our children and ourselves. No sex. We are 2 people betrayed by siblings. We are not going to stoop to their level and commit mutual incestuous revenge. This is about dignity. We also agreed on the final step. They would find out about our alliance together and publicly. That evening, I finally called Jessica. I kept my voice flat, professional. Jessica, I know everything. I was in the cabin. The divorce papers will be served Monday. You have 24 hours to move your personal effects out of the house. If you are there when I return with the children, I will call the police. She immediately went into full bitch mode. You can't talk to me like that. You have no proof. I'm calling my lawyer right now. Call him, I replied simply. My proof is already with mine. I hung up. I felt no sorrow,
only the cold, sharp satisfaction of a plan being executed. The revenge had already started, and they didn't even know who they were truly fighting yet.
I returned home late Sunday night. Jessica was gone. She had taken her purple roller bag and the expensive clothes, but surprisingly not much else. She clearly thought this was a temporary, angry separation. The peace was surreal. On Monday morning, the sudden event I had orchestrated began. First, my lawyer served Jessica with the separation papers, detailing her adultery and requesting full custody based on evidence of her deceitful lifestyle. Simultaneously, Jennifer went to Marcus's, her lawyer, presenting the same evidence, plus the detailed reports I generated from his secret investment accounts showing suspicious transfers, evidence of him using joint funds and perhaps company money for the trips. Jennifer didn't file for divorce yet. She secured a temporary restraining order on his liquid assets and his private accounts. The real blow came at noon. I knew Jessica had been using her company email for her affair and that she hadn't actually been fired yet, but she was definitely checked out. I used my accounting firm's resources to anonymously tip off both her HR and her chief financial officer about the Synergy retreat, providing the specific hotel and the dates, all while citing concerns about potential expense account fraud. The result was immediate and spectacular. By 3 p.m., Jessica was fired via email for gross misconduct and expense fraud. Marcus, who was trying to bail her out, had his private accounts suddenly frozen by Jennifer's lawyer. "I got one text from Jessica. 'You did this, Kevin. You're trying to ruin me. I'm coming for your kids.' But the house was locked, the divorce was filed, and her livelihood was gone. The best part of the revenge was that they couldn't even lean on each other for financial comfort. They were both broke and exposed.
3 days after the initial strike, I was meeting Jennifer for lunch to discuss the next steps. I was leaving my accounting firm's downtown office building when a sudden event unfolded right in front of the lobby doors. I heard screaming before I saw them. Jessica and Marcus were there, waiting for me. Jessica was wearing the same stained, expensive blouse from the cabin, and Marcus looked absolutely defeated, slumped against the marble wall. Jessica immediately lunged at me. "You bastard! You cost me my job! You can't take everything! This is my money too!" She tried to claw at my face, but I smoothly stepped back, maintaining a professional distance. Marcus finally spoke, his voice hoarse. "Kevin, man, this is low. We're family. Why would you do this? Just let me access my accounts. I'll pay you back. We can talk." I looked at my brother, then at my enraged ex-wife. I saw no remorse, only entitlement and anger at being caught. I didn't raise my voice. "We are not family, Marcus. Family doesn't commit incestuous betrayal and plan to steal assets. Jessica, your lawyer has the papers. Marcus, Jennifer's lawyer, has your accounts frozen. The only thing you two share now is unemployment and a divorce docket." At that exact moment, Jennifer arrived, walking up the steps, looking absolutely stunning and composed. She was carrying a box of Marcus's mail that she had just collected. She stopped right next to me. Jessica's face went white. She finally understood the full scope of the betrayal. "Jennifer, what the hell are you doing here?" Jennifer just smiled sweetly, holding up the box. "Oh, I was just dropping off Marcus's mail and making sure your little plan to run off with his money didn't succeed. It seems we had a better synergy than you two." The public humiliation was complete. Jessica started screaming obscenities at Jennifer, while Marcus just stared at me, his eyes full of hatred and shock. I simply walked away with Jennifer, leaving them standing there, ruined, exposed, and fighting each other. That moment of public exposure was my true acceptance. I had lost my wife and brother, but I had decisively won back my life.
It's been 6 months. The divorce is finalized. Thanks to the coordinated evidence provided by Jennifer, Jessica and Marcus were devastated financially and professionally. Jessica lost her job, and Marcus's secret accounts were drained by Jennifer in the settlement. They ended up leaving town together, having ruined both their lives and our families. They got each other, but they got nothing else. It was the most brutal, humiliating period of my life. I had to explain to Ryan and Olivia that their mother was gone, and their uncle wouldn't be around anymore. It hurts every single day, but the peace is absolute. Jennifer and I are partners. Not romantically. We are business partners in trauma. We talk every week, manage the fallout, and make sure our ex-spouses never regain access to our lives. We built a friendship forged in mutual betrayal and cold, calculated revenge. It gave me the strength to endure the process. The biggest lesson I learned from this whole awful sudden event: never assume family loyalty. Betrayal is darkest when it comes from within. My own brother was a willing participant in the destruction of my marriage and finances. A bitchy attitude hides a lie. Jessica's constant grumbling, avoiding sex, and emotional distance wasn't work stress. It was her guilt and planning. When they get bitchy and distant, start investigating. Fight with facts, not emotion. I survived because I teamed up with Jennifer and used my skills as an accountant to gather irrefutable, unemotional evidence. We didn't fight over feelings. We fought over asset transfers and expense fraud. I was called a boring accountant, but that boring competence saved my kids' future. I lost my wife and brother, but I gained my freedom, my dignity, and the incredible satisfaction of seeing two truly selfish people get exactly what they deserved.